Thanks for selling your car to Carvana. Here's your check.
Whoa, when did I get here?
What do you mean?
I swear it was just moments ago that I accepted a great offer from Carvana online. I must have time traveled to the future.
It was just moments ago. We do same-day pickup. Here's your check for that great offer.
It is the future.
It's the present and just the convenience of Carvana. Sorry to blow your mind.
It's all good. Happens all the time.
Sell your car the convenient way to
Carvana.
Pickup times may vary and fees may apply.
Welcome to another edition of Fall Rise Give, a podcast where Kumar and I have a chance to sit back and chat with you about, basically about life. Because, we all fall, we all rise, and hopefully we all give. And I find that my life personally has gotten better the more I've given. And I know that sounds kind of weird, but personally for me, the more that I've helped out or done things for other people, the better that I've felt about myself and about life. And, Kumar, I think you're on the same page as I am when it comes to this, that when you give, you feel better. When you help people out, you feel better. When you give that hand up rather than, the hand out to help somebody up, you feel better about yourself and about the way that your life is going. Am I wrong in that?
No, definitely right. Definitely right. I've got numerous examples of that in people's lives. People feel a lot more grateful, and then when they give, they feel a sense of happiness, a sense of community, and a sense of meaning in their lives. I think when we're just hoarding, we're very selfish, and we're not living in the best way.
For me, it's kind of started off when I was younger, because I know that growing up in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul area, my parents were involved in the church, so we do stuff with church. Then we got into scouting, and my brothers and I made it through Boy Scouts. One of my brothers and myself are Eagle Scouts, so we kind of worked our way through that whole giving thing and helping people along the way as kids, and that kind of turned over into my career when I got a little bit older. When I got into radio, a lot of radio, especially working in small towns, you're out doing things for the community. You're out there, washing cars, or you know what I mean? You're doing things to help the community to be a better place. And I was lucky that I was able to do some of those things. Then eventually get into, as I got older, helping out with being on boards of different things. And it just kind of follows the path of, hey, let's help people out and just kind of go with that flow.
Yeah. And you meet interesting people when you give too, right? When you're involved in boards and when you're talking community service and things like that, a lot of people feel satisfaction, but there's also a networking effect that you meet like-minded people and you are able to connect with them more, and people who feel more grateful, people who feel more abundant in their lives. And then that way you can expand your network as well. I used to belong on the United Way board in Twin Cities for about a year or so. And so same kind of thing. You meet some amazing people who are very successful in their field and are able to give back to the community. And so it's a great network effect of moving yourself up the chain as well. You don't want to give to get something in return necessarily, but you do get a lot in return, especially the personal satisfaction.
Oh, absolutely. And if you go back and listen to some of these podcasts too, we've got 65, maybe 70 podcasts that you and I have done with the Fall Rise Give podcast. And if you go back and listen to the messages that 99% of the people that we've had on have talked about, that's exactly what they talked about. The fact that their lives got better and their focus on life got better when they stopped focusing on themselves and started focusing in on other people and some of the things that they've been able to do as a productive member of society, And as you mentioned, you get the like-minded people together, and pretty soon you're solving all the problems of the world, or at least trying to anyway.
Yeah. No, agreed. And community service is a big part of it. But I think people often get caught up in not giving because they don't feel like they don't have enough money. But I don't think money is the only thing that you can give. I think you can give your time, you can give your respect, you can give your sense of yourself. There's a homeless guy down the street from us. He stands in the same corner every single day. He sleeps in the laundromat. The laundromat gives him a place to sleep at night. And I don't necessarily give him money all the time. I do give him money sometimes, but then I always say, hi, hey, Walt, how's it going? and stop and say hello to him. He always keeps me up on all the Minnesota sports and things. He loves reading the paper. And so Walt is a big, part of this community. People love him. People give him hugs all the time. And so he feels welcome. So giving him attention, giving him a little bit of self-respect, and, it's a good way to add to the community.
Honestly, giving somebody their dignity is a lot of it. I know that, I don't have a lot of money myself, so I'm more of a time giver than anything, but I am an attention giver. And as you mentioned, talking to the guy Walt down the street, that it's about having somebody with their dignity and giving them the opportunity to share their opinions rather than just kind of walking by them and giving them the blind eye. Like, I think a lot of people, especially when I'm in a bigger city, I've noticed in Chicago, let's say just for Chicago, I was in Chicago a few weeks ago and watching people just walk by and not even give attention to somebody. I mean, a lot of it boils down to, if you give attention to somebody, that shows that you care for them and that they're, that they are a person and that they are worthwhile and worth knowing and have something to, have a story or something to give, some bit of knowledge or something.
Yeah. And there's a Hindu word for hello and goodbye called namaste. And you hear that in yoga classes a lot. It's probably become very popular.
And I've heard that word before.
Yeah, it kind of means I see the God in you, and seeing the God in other people, giving them the dignity, showing respect. I think it's a great way to give people. I think if we can walk away with just today's podcast and just give people a little bit more respect on the street and just saying, hello, how are you doing? And actually stopping to listen for 5 minutes, that just might be enough to give you some personal satisfaction and gratitude, and gives them some hope maybe, and some sort of respect as well.
And you mentioned something, when you mentioned give a couple dollars or whatever, and the time thing, the funny thing is, my kids always say when it comes to spending money, they're like, Dad, you can always make more. And it's true. You can always make more money. And time, I think, is one of the things that's even more valuable than money, because we all have a finite finite amount of minutes on this earth. We could die right now while we're doing this, or 10 minutes after we're through recording or something. I mean, so to kind of take your time and, try to do the right things with yourself when you have your time and when you have the time to do it,
Yeah. I have a friend who's a construction consultant. He's got a company where he manages large homes, billionaires' homes, really, people that spend $20-30 million on a home. And he said most of them are miserable. I might have mentioned it before. Most of them are miserable until they start to give. He said about 10% of them start to give their money away and start to give away the part of their time to boards and things like that. And that's when they're the happiest. He's noticed that the ones that give, the ones that aren't super selfish, are the ones that are the happiest. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It's giving your time, giving your money a little bit to the causes. Bill Gates obviously is one of the richest men in the world. And he's on a mission to give all of his money away. He's actually going to shut down his charity in 2035, I think it is. And he's going to give away his $100 billion or whatever it is to causes in Africa, India, third world countries, to get clean water, eradicate disease, things like that. So I think that's where we have people who aren't just hoarding cash anymore, and they're giving back. They feel a sense of protection, a sense of relief, a sense of gratitude to society, and I think they can make a big difference, especially the ones that do have a lot of resources.
That kind of brings me to the next piece of this podcast. If you think about it, those small little things, those small little steps, the small little pieces that people do to give, to help out others, have a ripple effect. Yeah. If you think about it, you do one nice thing for this person, and then they do a nice thing for somebody else, and pretty soon that little bit that you did, it may not have been a lot, but it made a difference in somebody's life. And then they took, in turn, did something to help somebody else, and so on and so forth. And pretty soon that one little thing, kind of like that old movie, The Butterfly Effect, had these effects all rippling down and causing something good to happen 100 people later or 200 people later, which is kind of neat to see.
Yeah, totally. Society has a great way of having that multiplier effect, and I think that's amazing. The other part of it is, I think people we were going to talk about is money today, money and generosity and giving. People get stuck. They feel like they don't have enough money, and that's where they feel a lot of insecurities around giving. And I don't. I think what we're talking about is the right thing about having enough money and a relationship with money. And so let's talk about that as a little bit as well, because I think that's the biggest blocker to a lot of people not giving. They feel like they have to, whatever time they do have, they have to spend their time earning.
Here's a legitimate question for you then. What is your relationship with money?
That's a great question. I think you were going to ask that, and I knew we were going to ask that today. I have a very complex relationship with money. I grew up with humble beginnings. I grew up on the south side of Roseville, if you want to call it that. Yeah,
we only had a 1-car garage in our house.
Yeah, we only had a 1-car garage in our house.
We didn't have call waiting.
Yeah, we didn't have call waiting. Exactly. And so we grew up in a nice suburb, obviously, but I feel like I grew up near Como Park, which is not necessarily the poorest area either. But anyway, I grew up with humble beginnings. My mom, when my father passed away, or even before that, would work at the Old Country Buffet, on the weekends to make a little extra cash. She had a home daycare. My dad had lost his job at the University of Minnesota, and so he basically worked in a lab where people would give blood for cash and things like that. And so they had menial jobs, and we found a way to get through. And so for me, having enough money, being successful was very important. And so I was very driven in life, trying to start up businesses and things like that to try to make a lot of money. And I wanted to have financial security, to be the freedom that I wanted to have. And at times in my life, I've had that. But I think for me, money is a huge worry still. I still worry a lot about it. I have a full-time job that I work on for money, obviously, and for personal satisfaction in other areas, part of it, the sense of community, sense of problem solving. But the main reason I'm working is for money. I mean, let's be real. Most of us who have jobs work for money, right? And
Yep.
So I have a complex relationship. It's not a love-hate. It's more of a insecurity that I have around it. I am pretty conservative when I try to give. I wish I could give more. I want to have savings and investments so that I can have a decent retirement. I'm getting to that age now where I got to start thinking about that. 10 years or so, I'll be retiring, and so I gotta really think through things. So it's a very complex relationship. I have been. The reason we're talking about it is I've been listening to a podcast recently by a guy named Lewis Howes. He's got a new book called Making Money Easy. And Lewis is talking about the complex relationships. A lot of people think that to have money, money is the root of all evil. And I don't think that's the case. And they have a kind of a very conflicted relationship with money. They think that people who are rich are very selfish and things like that. But that's not necessarily the reality. And so a lot of people have a negative connotation in a relationship with money. I don't feel like I do. But mine is really based on my personal insecurities. I'm insecure about having enough. And so I think a lot of people might be in that same boat. And so therefore, talking about it is a good way to uncover and go through the layers of onions and like, why do I feel insecure? Do I feel like I have to have a certain lifestyle? Do I feel like, in a way, is God going to provide enough for me? He always has. And I always felt like I was taken care of. But in a lot of ways, I feel like growing up, I didn't want to be that, that homeless person with a shopping cart, trying to make sure that I'm trying to make my ends meet or be homeless or things like that. So that's the deep rooted fear. A lot of it is fear based for a lot of people, including myself. So
have you ever been close to being homeless? I mean,
no, but I have been bankrupt because of a business failure. A lot of successful people have gone through that, through a business that has taken them down. They spent a lot of their investments and dollars. I spent, I want to say, $400,000 to $500,000 on a business that went belly up, and I got stuck a lot of debt with it as well. And so that's what I had to deal with over 20 years ago. And so not homeless, but definitely, a lot of shame and guilt around having to go to a court and try to clean the slate, if you want to call it that. And then over the last 20 years, I've built myself back up again. But yeah, definitely hit rock bottom financially, I would say.
Mm-hmm. I kind of have the same fear as you do about money. I never was afraid of being homeless because I always think that, I can talk to anybody, and I think that I would always have a job if I needed a job, or always be able to get a job because, I'm 56 years old. I'm going to be 57 years old in a couple of weeks. Wow. And I think I've called into work sick in my entire career less than 10 times, Yeah. So, I show up to work all the time, and things like that. But I've always had that fear of not having enough money, not having money, but not having enough, or not being able to do the things that I wanted to do. And my parents always told me when I was younger that those that don't understand credit pay it, those that do understand it earn it. And so I've always been I have credit cards. I have 2 credit cards, but I pay them off every month, so I don't carry credit. I try to pay cash, honestly, with most things. But nowadays, it's so weird that in 2025, there are places you can go and they don't accept cash. Yeah. We went to Summerfest in Milwaukee a few weeks ago, and you needed a credit card or you needed to buy a debit card from one of the vendors there in order to either buy food and beverages and whatnot. And so I bought a card so I can have a few beers. So I bought 3 or 4 beers on a card, and beers were $9 a piece. So I got my third beer, and great. And then I went to go get my fourth, and they're like, well, you still owe us $7. I'm like, what do you mean I owe you $7? I bought a card. Oh, you got to pay tax on this stuff too. So not only are they charging you $9 for a beer, they're charging you $9 plus tax for a beer at this festival, which I thought was ridiculous. Yeah. But so for me, that's the kind of stuff that bugs me and puts fear into me, is that I won't have enough. I won't have enough money or enough resources in order to get the things that I want to have. Not necessarily need, but just want to have, Yeah.
I think you hit the nail right on the board, or whatever you want to call it, nail on the coffin. I think not having enough is the big fear that a lot of people have. And I think that's definitely true for me. It's not that I won't have any, it's that I won't have enough to live the lifestyle that I want to have. I definitely will have enough money to live somewhere for the rest of my life. Will I be able to live in my same house, my same neighborhood, my same city with the same lifestyle? That's my concern. And that's why I work so hard. And that's why I continue to save and invest and all that stuff. But I think you're right. Not having enough is the big fear for a lot of people. And for people with the billionaire lifestyle, maybe that's why they're hoarding. That's why they're doing what they're doing, is not having enough. I think that not having enough to a certain degree is a fallacy, because it's about maintaining a particular lifestyle. But I think that is probably one of the biggest fears that a lot of people have. So how do we overcome that, Bob? I want to get to your wisdom question.
I don't know how we overcome that. And and to add to that whole thing now too, is that money that we have, that you may have saved and you may have in your accounts, or your retirement accounts and your 401ks and your all this stuff, that money is worth less today than it was 10 years ago and it was 20 years ago. So I look at the cash on hand, and $100 bill today is not worth the same as a $100 bill in 1987 when we graduated high school, or in 1900. If you had $100 in 1900, you'd have a lot of money. I actually just watched a reel earlier today on Facebook that somebody had $1,000 back in 1900, and they lived like a king. And so I did the research on that to see what $1,000 today would be compared to 1900. and it was only $38,000. Well, $38,000 today is not worth a whole lot of money. However, back in 1900, you could buy a deed to land for $6.
Wow.
Could you imagine buying a deed to the land where you live in Seattle for $6, or the land that I live here in Ferryville for $6? Acreage is now going for like thousands, tens of thousands of dollars for an acre of land, you know. And if you're in a metropolitan area, it's even way more than that. But you could deed it for $6 back in 1900. So the value of a dollar has gone nothing but down in the last so many years.
Yeah, yeah. And I think the value of our time is the same thing, right? Value of our time has gone to a certain degree. I don't know if it's gone down or up, but we really have to value our time when we talk about it. But as we're talking about it, I punched into ChatGPT, how do we overcome fears of not having enough money? And it says overcoming fears of not having enough money is partly about practical strategy and partly about emotional and mindset work. It's funny that thing is they're mentioning mindset work because scarcity is both a numbers problem and a nervous system problem. And so they talk about getting actual numbers, focusing on exactly what you need. But really, they talk a lot about in this thing about train your nervous system. Basically, it's about having grounding practices, gratitude rituals, visualization rehearsals, rewriting your money story, old beliefs about money, right? And so it's a topic of interest. We're not going to solve it today by talking about it today, but I think people should understand their relationship with money. And I think the phrase money is the root of all evil is definitely destructive for a lot of people. And I think having a healthy relationship with money where you respect it, where you respect your time and you're generous and you're abundant makes a lot more sense for a lot of people to live in a happy life with money around in it.
Well, I think a lot of it, education. You know, honestly, Kumar, I think a lot of people do better with their money if they found. And this isn't an ad for anybody at all, but, you know, talk to a financial planner, talk to somebody about, you know, what do you need in order to sustain the lifestyle that you have today when you retire. It doesn't matter what age you are. I mean, you could be 25 and okay, I want to retire at the age of 60. So I've got 35 years to go. What can I do today to start that path to retirement in those years? Like for us, we're in our mid 50s, late 50s, I should say, because we're over 55.
Yeah.
But, you know, and what do we need to do in order to attain the lifestyle that we have today when we retire, and then to have that carry on from 65 till death date, you know? And I mean, that could be 90 years old. It could, you know, it could be 65 in one day. It could be, you know, 93 years. It could be something.
No doubt about it. I think getting practical with your money is really important. Understanding how much you need to live, and then conserving, right? You know, the best dollar you earn is the dollar that you saved, because it's actually $2 because all the taxes and stuff that you don't have to save, put money into it. So to save $1, you need to pay taxes on probably 30 to 40% on most of us, at least. Mm-hmm. And so every dollar that you save multiplies. And so saving is a big part of it. Like you said, you live with cash. And so saving is a big part of my life. I don't save as much as I should, given that I do have a lot of bills and things to maintain my lifestyle. But as a whole, and then again, the quality of life too, right? You want to live for retirement, but you also want to live today. You want to go to a restaurant. You want to go play golf. You want to go do certain things. And so you want to travel to Summerfest, and you want to be able to have a couple of beers. You want to be able to listen to music. You want to be able to go out to dinner. So all of those things matter. Having money is really important, but it's not the end all and be all. You got to live your life to a certain degree of satisfaction as well.
You know, it's funny. You said a dollar saved is a dollar earned, which is funny because when we were growing up, it was a penny saved is a penny earned. And I remember as a kid, I'd stop and pick up pennies. Yeah. I see pennies on the ground now, and sometimes I see quarters on the ground. And maybe it's because it's hard for me to bend over to pick them up, but I don't pick. If I find $1 on the ground, I'm definitely picking that up. But coins, a lot of times, I'll let somebody else grab those.
Yeah, yeah. I
But,
agree with you. I'm the same way. I used to be able to pick up a penny just for good luck that I see a penny on the ground.
Yep.
But I don't pick them up as often as I used to, and so it's
because my back hurts when I'm done.
yeah.
And the ground, somehow the ground has gotten a lot further away. And you also mentioned live for today, and you're absolutely right, because I've known a lot of people. My grandfather is one of the people. I mean, he worked his whole life. He retired at 62 or 63 as a truck driver, and within less than a month, he was dead.
Oh wow!
From retiring, and did he live the life that he wanted to? I'm sure that he lived mostly the life that he wanted to, but he didn't want to die when he was that young, and that has that ripple effect throughout the whole family. So live for the moment. You got to get out there and do things and try things and be a part of your everyday instead of hoarding money. Don't hoard your money. Don't. I don't even know where this podcast is going, to be honest with you, because my mind is going like in all kinds of directions right now, because you mentioned that whole live for today, and you're right. You got to get out there and do stuff and not be bored. Push your boundaries, try new things. I mean, I was a friend of mine posted on Facebook the other day that they bought their husband a hot air balloon ride for his 60th birthday. And I'm like, that is so cool. When I worked in radio back in 1989, I worked at a radio station. The guy owned a hot air balloon. If you followed the hot air balloon and helped him to retrieve it and clean it up and stuff, he took you out on a ride. So I got to go on a hot air balloon back when I was like 21 years old, and it was cool. It was a cool thing. So, I mean, take those experiences. If you have a chance to help somebody out and be able to do something because of that helping, by all means, help somebody out. And that goes to kind of what we're talking about with the whole Fall Rise Give thing, the whole give your time, have fun doing it, and maybe you'll get the opportunity to do something new yourself.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. There's also another book that I read within the last year called Die with Zero. That's all about living abundantly, living with experiences, trying to spend your money on resources and experiences as much as possible. That's why people love to travel so much. Try different food and going out. And so dying with zero is a very strong principle for a lot of people. Like, you don't want to be like your grandfather, like you said, at 62 retires and then dies within a month. And so it's a fine balance. I think living abundantly is the key. We talk about the Hindu chakras, and we talk about meditation in this podcast. And so the seventh chakra, which is the crown chakra, is all about abundance and gratitude, filling your cup up in the morning through meditation or prayer, abundantly, living with gratitude. You can only feel gratitude when you feel like you have enough. So I think opening up through meditation or prayer and opening up your seventh chakra and living abundantly, you live with gratitude. And that's when you start to feel a lot more happier. And that's why it's interesting that money is a big part of even the chakra system from ancient times.
Do you have enough?
I think I have enough. Now that I've talked about it, I think I have enough.
It's funny when you said when you have enough, and that quick moment, I thought to myself, you know what? I have enough.
Yeah.
Because I've been in a situation in my life, and I'm sure you have, and our listeners have as well, where it's like, you know what? I have a lot, but I really want what Kumar has, and I really want to have what Joy have, and I really want to have what Fred has, and then you start thinking about that, and you go to attempt to get those different things, and it's like, you know what, they have this, but they have this other problem as well, and they've got this, and I know what I have, I appreciate what I have, I love what I have, and the grass isn't greener on the other side, Kumar. It really isn't. I have enough,
Yeah,
I really
I think
do.
I love it. I think that's the topic. It's funny. I didn't hesitate when I answered that question. When you asked me that
not
question,
at all.
I didn't hesitate.
Not at all.
And I think that's the key. Is most of us, if we really sit down and talk about it and think about it, you have enough. You've been able to live so far in life, and is to not to look at the grass and the greener on the other side, but to look at yourself and water the grass that you do have on your side. And like they say in the program, as we call it, attitude adjustment program, water or, clean your side of the street, water the grass on your side. And I think you'll make it better. So yeah, living abundantly, living with gratitude. I think the money relationship will change simply by living with gratitude, and you have enough.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Fall Rise Give, where we explore stories of resilience, growth, and giving back. If you enjoyed today's episode, please visit our website at www.fallrisegive.com. Also consider subscribing to our podcast on your favorite platform and leaving us a review. Your feedback helps us to continue to bring you inspiring stories. Stay tuned for our next episode, and remember, every fall is a chance to rise, and every rise is an opportunity to give. Until next time, keep falling, rising, and giving. This is Fall Rise Give, produced by podcastforhire.com. Thank you for listening.